Welcome, everyone, to the Champions. Now, here's your host, former Dallas Cowboys great Preston Pearson, number 26, along with co-host Cowboys superfan Nathan Ross. Here we go.
All right, well, welcome to the Champions, everyone. I'm Preston Pearson, along with my co-host, Nathan Ross, California man out there who is suffering big time, like all fans around the world. So here's my question. Is the sky falling? Is it coming down on us? Is the season over? That's my question to you as fans, and we're going to start with that question to my co-host. And briefly, I know we could take a week or two in talking about this, Nathan, but briefly kick it off. Give us your thoughts on, is the sky falling on our Dallas Cowboys 2024 season?
Hi, Preston. Great to be here. Awesome to be your co-host. And just, it's not the greatest things that we get to talk about today. The Cowboys are really struggling. And if you're asking me for this season, yes, the sky is falling for the 2024 season. The way that we are playing from a physicality standpoint, not only physicality, but discipline. This 2024 Dallas Cowboy team is not playing good in any facet, starting with the offensive line, defensive line, and so many things you and me are going to get into today. Mm-hmm. But yes, Preston, as of right now, I am very concerned for this season. And yes, this season, it does feel like the sky is falling.
And just think, a couple of 10 weeks ago, you and I were talking about the Cowboys being a better team, and a better team because of the trickle-down effect. The coaches were better, we thought. We thought the roster was pretty solid. We thought. But as of last week, the game prior to that against the Eagles, everybody was talking about the sunshine. And how it affected the entire game, let alone the so-called pass to C.D. Lamb. By the way, a quick question for you. Do you know what the C.D. comes from? Do you know his real name?
I do not, Preston. Do you?
I do. The C and the D are there, but they're both shortened. His name is Cedarian. Let me think for a second. It's a C, Cedarian. I have to look. LeJohn.
Really?
Cedarian.
LeJohn?
LeJohn.
Wow.
Yes. I think I got that right.
I should have known that, Preston. Shame on me. I'm the host.
I was just wondering, where did the CD, I mean, not many people are named C-E-E-D-E-E.
Right.
Cedarian DeJohn. There you go. There it is.
And on that play specifically, Preston, wasn't really a great throw, again, by Cooper Rush. I mean, that game he only threw for 45 yards. The sun was in the way, but as you saw it, he didn't lead him. It was another ball that was thrown a little behind.
I think he was thrown to the tight end, to be honest with you, who was a little shorter in the route, but they were still. It was not a good route from either one of them when you're stacked like that, and the quarterback
he was wide open.
Pick out.
I mean, CD was wide open for that. So,
yes.
It just, he threw for 45 yards that game against the Eagles, Preston, talking about Cooper Rush. And all the fans were curious. Hey, let's let Dak go. Hey, we got Cooper Rush went 5-1. And it was good that they were able to see that, that Dak really wasn't the problem. Though, like Jerry Jones did say, we weren't playing good with Dak Prescott before he got hurt going out 3-5. So, but definitely seeing Cooper Rush come in, he has really underperformed. Very not holding on to the football, fumbling. If he does get sacked, you got to hold on to that football. I'm not giving any excuses for that. Protect my football. That's what coaches say. So that's what he's not doing, and he's just not playing a really good brand of football. Now, Preston is that offensive line. He's not getting any protection. We have no run game. There's a lot of things that you and I can discuss on this matter because there's a lot of holes that we have with the Cowboys right now.
Well, we'll get to some of those elements that you're talking about here, but as we said, the talk was about the stadium, about the sunshine in the game against the Eagles, and it carried over. That was a carryover from the night before, where they had a boxing match. In my opinion, should not have been on anybody's screens. I don't care if it was a blown-up TV show or Netflix or whatever. It was an horrendous production, first of all.
Yeah,
and then
I have to agree,
the
Preston.
Combatants. The best part of that whole fight with Mike Tyson and Jake Paul was the fight between the women.
Oh, yeah.
And Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor.
They put it on the line,
the two
didn't they?
combatants in the ring. Mike Tyson was way too old. He's already beat up. Look at his knee. He had some problems earlier. That's why they had to delay the fight in the first place.
Right.
And then Mike Tyson was 58 years old. You can't go back to a sporting event like that and expect to be anywhere near where you were 22 years ago.
Preston, the weird thing is, too, if you watch that, there were times Mike Tyson could have came over with a right, and it's almost like, I don't need to say this under, well, I hate to say this, but it almost seemed between you and me a little staged. Because there were times where he would come across and then he dropped it right before he connected with Jake. I mean, how much money did Mike make on that fight? 20, 30 million?
Somewhere in the neighborhood.
So I'm saying that was not the Mike Tyson that we saw in the warm-ups even before where he was ducking and diving.
Exactly.
He did not do that in the ring. And I think this is just between you and me and our listeners. I'm not sure how much of that was legitimate.
Well, if it was staged, they did a great job. The advertising certainly was there. They drew, 550 million people around the world to watch that staged
I didn't know that, but
fight.
It was a lot. Yes.
Wow. A lot of people spent a lot of money. I did not tune in at the time of the event. I waited and watched it on Netflix a day or two later so I could catch it.
And And it was on Netflix. That's where it streamed. And they even said that the stream was real bad, too, because I was watching a little bit, and it would die down. It wasn't Netflix's best moment, that's for sure.
Well, that fiasco was a carryover to the Cowboys game, which was another fiasco. And that started by things falling from the roof.
Yes, it did.
The sky was falling from Jerry Jones's AT&T Stadium. And we're not talking about a little tiny piece of metal here. That thing has some size. That's a look at the stadium when it's open, when the top of it's open. And that
look at the size of that.
Of the metal that fell from the top. Fortunately, it didn't hit anyone in warm-ups or any of the fans that were there at the time of the thing falling. But that's when the fiasco of the Texans versus the Cowboys really and truly began. The fall of the Dallas Cowboys, in my opinion, for this season started right there when that piece of metal fell from the ceiling of AT&T.
That was a metaphor, like foreshadowing for you, Preston? It kind of signified this season. Interesting.
Definitely an interesting point. And that's not to say that the Cowboys didn't put out an effort, especially in the first half.
Yes.
But there was a couple of things just missing. First of all, we have to give them credit for even going out there with the list of injuries that they've had this year to some quality players. Some of them are coming back for this upcoming game against the Commanders, but some, like Duran Bland, I don't believe is coming back for this game. And you know what? He may have to just go ahead and sit out the rest of the year, especially if the sky has already fallen on the team. Why risk injury to him going forward?
Yeah, and our cornerback play, Preston, just jumping on with you on that. With Trayvon Diggs, Kalen Carson, our cornerback play has not been good these last few weeks, especially, in coverage or the physicality aspect of it, the tackling, just even from them or our safeties. But to not have Duran Bland there, it does hurt us because we do need a spark. And Jordan Lewis was out last week, too.
Jordan Lewis is out.
So we were really struggling covering receivers with these DBs right now, and it would be nice to get some back, but you might be right. Are we playing for a draft spot right now? Do we want to win those games? Do we want to get a better draft choice? These are a lot of things to talk about.
Well, what do you think? Let's get into that right now. Are the Cowboys the kind of team, in your opinion, that are going to tank to get in position for the 2025 draft? I don't feel that in my heart. I just
Preston, me as a fan either. I always say to myself, hey, when seasons get like this and you go, okay, well, let's just lose the rest of them. Let's get a great draft choice. Let's get a top 5 pick. And then every time as a fan of 47 years, I come to the game or watch the game on television there, and I'm rooting for us to win every damn time.
Sure.
I don't know how to tank. And I hope that our football players on that team don't know how to tank. But the way they've been playing for these last few weeks, I don't think they'll need to tank unless we get some better physicality and better discipline from our football team.
Well, there's a lot to be done with this team, even with the remaining 7 or 8 games that we have coming up. So the piece falls from the ceiling. They get it kind of cleaned up. And I'm thinking, oh, my, is this a symbol of what's going to happen in the game? So we come out and we play halfway decent, okay?
Yes.
Given the fact that we've got all of these injuries to some very prominent people, and when we talk about injuries now, we have to start with the injury to our previous quarterback, Dak Prescott.
Yes, we do.
And Dak was there, a horrendous injury. Dak's been injured before. I believe this is to the same leg, but it's to a different part of that leg.
Yep.
This is a hamstring.
Yes.
This is a big muscle. So he had to go in and get surgery done. So when's he going to be back? Certainly not this year.
Right.
Is he going to be back and healthy to start next year? I'll say probably, but it's going to take some work.
Yes.
Is he going to be the same Dak? Well, the Dak that we saw at most of last year anyway. Dak wasn't that bad this year. I think Dak's problems came from one thing. The offensive line was not up to par this year. And also maybe in a little sense of the word, the play calling to me suffered a little bit too. The Cowboys are not an exotic team. It's not a team that has motions and misdirections and all kinds of things of that nature. I think if Jerry's going to make a change, okay, given all of the injuries that we have, maybe he should be looking at a today kind of head coach. And what I mean by that is one that's more offensively minded, more exoticness, more quick screens, more crossings of their receivers. All of the teams that we played this year use a lot of that. The Lions, the 49ers for sure, have their receivers crossing the field. Why? One of the major reasons is those DBs have to follow them, and they might get picked off somewhere in that crossing process.
Absolutely,
so
Preston.
It's the upgraded, quote, modern-day kind of offensive passing game philosophy that I'm looking for. And we'll get a little bit deeper into some of the people that others are talking about to possibly look at becoming a Dallas Cowboy head coach. And possibly we should look at not only on the pro level, but on the collegiate level. Now, I know right away people are going to say, well, those college coaches can't coach in the National Football League. Well, I beg to differ, because we had one here that won 2 Super Bowls that came from the college ranks. Jimmy Johnson.
He did.
Remember
he sure
him?
did. Of
you
course.
Remember him? There have been others in the league that came from college, that came into the pros and did very, very well. So we'll get into that. But let's get back into Mike McCarthy and the quarterbacks. Okay. We talked a little bit about Dak Prescott. And let's just slide him to the side. He's no longer there. He's not a part of this. Cooper Rush, you gave your thoughts a little bit earlier about Cooper Rush. He did improve from the first game he played in to the second game. I believe he had pretty close to 260 yards passing in the last ball game, right?
He had 354. But
there
Preston,
you go.
he had to throw.
That's not bad.
No, it's not bad, but when you think that he had to throw 55 times to do
That's
that.
True.
That's, that's 6 yards on average. The game before that, we were throwing per play 2.9 yards or something like that.
Yeah.
Our quarterback play has not been well. Now, we like we said, we're going to talk about the offensive line in that. But Preston, he's got to, maybe use his feet to get out more. He's a lot more, not Drew Bledsoe, because Drew Bledsoe was a heck of a quarterback. So I'm not saying he wasn't. But when he went back there, he was kind of like a statue. Well, Cooper Rush, when he goes back there, there's no getting out of the pocket. There isn't any of that. So, and the way he's throwing the football, he's not very accurate. That one game against the Eagles, 45 yards. This last game, I think it was 37 completions, but on 55 attempts. No run game, so I will give Cooper that type of a lead. But we just didn't get the expectation out of Cooper Rush that I think the fans and the coaches were expecting, Preston.
Okay, you talked a little bit about his ability to throw the ball. The third-team quarterback, Trey Lance,
yes,
he's a little bit different in that he does throw the ball really hard. Maybe that's his problem. If we get someone between the two of these guys, one that throws the ball a little bit soft, and Cooper Rush, and Trey Lance, who just fires everything, that to me is the greatest obstacle for him.
Yes.
He's got to learn how to put touch on the football and throwing the ball to wide receivers. He doesn't have that yet.
I agree. And one of the things, Preston, about Trey Lance and the mystery to us fans, I talked to my cousin Mark, a diehard fan, we're all talking about this. Why in the world did we go get Trey Lance with a fourth round?
If he's not going to play him.
Yeah, I mean, what better place is it to play than right now? If at the end of the season, we have to decide if we keep him. We gave a fourth round for him. We didn't go out and get Derrick Henry because the $8 million price tag was too much. Well, we're paying this gentleman $5 million to be a third quarterback for us. So why isn't he getting in the game? I really still don't understand why we went and got Trey Lance.
Well, I'm with you on that one. It appears to me that he represents what I'll say it this way, modern day quarterback's all about.
Right.
Look around the league. How many of them can run? How many of them have designed runs for them?
Right.
Do we have that in Dallas? Not even with Dak do we have that. Again, when we're looking at head coaches, whether it be from the pros or from the collegiate level, I'm looking for a couple of things. One of them would be you got to be a little bit more innovative, more exotic, and I also want
More physical too. Gosh darn it! We need to go
quarterback
get
to be physical and run. Option.
Yes.
Give me somebody that not only knows the game and can throw the ball, but can get out of trouble if need be, or design something as they do in Washington coming up.
Yes. Yes.
And
they're running the football.
Philly.
Preston, they're doing 158 yards a game rushing.
Sure.
They're doing what they're supposed to be doing, what we cannot do. We cannot run the football because we are not a physical team. And real quick, Preston, I know I talked your head off at one time about when Micah Parsons made that sack against Jalen Hurts, and we're on the 2.5-yard line. Mm-hmm. Preston, we went from shotgun formation every time and didn't get in a goal line formation and just power football into that end zone 4 times. That day, and that right there tells you everything you need to know about our football team. Our coach doesn't believe we're physical enough to get up in goal line formation and run the football into the end zone from the 2-yard line. Shotgun formation, I don't like it. Let's get more physical. Let's run the dang football.
Especially on the goal line.
Absolutely.
Especially. Well, that brings up the subject of our linemen again. They're just not good enough. And most of the time, even when we're on the goal line, where do we try to run? Right over Zach Martin. Well, Zach Martin's kind of hurting a little bit.
Yeah,
so
he is.
You got to find somebody else or some other way to run the football when you get down there.
Right.
I don't know what the statistics say about the goal line or in the red zone area for the Cowboys, but it appears to me that is just not good.
No, and we're the worst, I believe, in red zone offense. And Preston, we're also the worst in red zone defense. If anybody wants to know why we are where we are, there's a couple more interesting little stats for you on that. And Preston, real quick, our offensive line, and it's like our football IQ. It's like the game against the Eagles when there's a fumble. Terrence Steele goes and tries to pick it up and run with it instead of fall on it. And Tyler Guyton did the same thing this last game. We're still somewhat in the game. But he gets the ball off and instead of just going down and not creating anything worse happen in the play, he tries to run it. It's 3rd and 15. Where are you running? Where are you going? So he gets hit.
They want to be running backs.
It's like the Bad News Bears in that. I mean, that was like when we were watching it. You wanted the circus music. Dun, 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 dun. It was our football IQ is just, and that has to be from some coaching too, Preston. The penalties, the pre-snap penalties. At some point, your head coach is going to take some of this.
You have to start
punishment
at the top when you get scenarios like you're describing right there, the clown thing. And it starts with the owner, general manager, and the head coach, right? I saw a sign that was in the audience of that game, and it kind of spoke for a lot of people. And the sign said something like, "Fire the GM." I believe I downloaded that. There you go.
Right.
Fire the GM.
Right.
That's exactly what we're talking about, right?
Right. Well,
Jerry
that's not going to happen. And that's the thing, Preston. We know that's not going to happen. Okay, and I defended him too. The only thing that I jump aside with our current ownership in that is that we went away from, like, what happened, Preston, and when we won Super Bowl championship, 92, 93, and 95. When we went and we beat the Bears in 91, we went 11-5, and then we lost to the Lions. We kept our team together, and we went out and got Charles Haley, which put us over the edge. And then what did we do in that 95 season when we lost to the Niners? We went out and we got Deion Sanders, one of the most famous players at that time that you get free agency-wise. So people are acting like we're only going to go through the draft only, and that's the way the Cowboys do it, and we're just going to build from within. Well, that's not how we won championships in 92, 93, and 95. We added to it. And these last 12-5 teams that we got, we had some good teams. Now, what players did we add to them similar to that we did with Charles Haley and Deion Sanders. We haven't.
We
haven't.
You got wide receiver Wingo.
Right,
but
we're
that's
doing
not
everything through
Deion
draft.
Sanders.
That's correct. And Preston, that's where I think some of this is hitting us in the face now. Our last 2 drafts haven't been really good when it comes to installing somebody of that magnitude. When it comes to the other years, we had Micah.
We might
we
be
had
a
Duran
little
Bland.
early with the offensive tackle. What's his name? Tyler Guyton.
Yeah.
Has been banged up, a little injuries here
Right.
and there, and being a rookie, I'm going to give him an out for the moment. I'll give him a couple of years to prove himself. The guy that has not done anything that was a first-round draft choice is on defense. Mozzie Smith, do you ever hear his name called during the course of a game? Any game?
No, I did not.
You haven't heard it. He's a first-round draft choice.
See, then that's what I mean, Preston. We have not added to the 12-5 team that we had. Once we got, I have to say it, there's no other way of saying it, but we got smashed by the Packers on that game. We needed to add that type of a Deion Sanders type of, not coach, but Deion Sanders player, Charles Haley player. Just add somebody to that, and right now we're not doing that. Now we're saying, forget that. We're going through the draft, and we're going to build in. But when you say that, Preston, you're saying that what you did in 92, 93, and 95, that's when you got those Super Bowls. You added to the pieces, and we have not done that this last couple of years.
Well, they always say it's a matter of money. Well,
yes,
I don't know about that either. Anyway, like you said, it starts from the top. Maybe I said that. Start from the top with the GM, owner, and it comes down to the coach.
Yes, it
the
does.
coach right now, and the play caller is who? Mike McCarthy.
Yes.
So are they going to finally let him go and look for another coach? Is Jerry ready for something like that? I don't know about that either. I'm not too sure whether or not they're going to hold on to him. I guess it all depends upon what they do as a team going forward, starting with the Commanders this weekend.
Right. But Preston, he wasn't calling great. I mean, I hate to say this. When we had all those injuries to our defense, Preston, we had Micah Parsons out, D-Law out, Marshawn Nealon out. So we had some excuses on the defense if they could just keep us in the game. We were expecting our head coach, who is our offensive coordinator, okay? And we had, besides Brandon Cooks out, we had most of our team up when we went to 3 and 5 in the season. But for some reason, even he is not elevating us as the head coach and offensive coordinator like I think that a lot of people thought he would do. But in fact, the offense needed to carry this defense, and they're coming out like last game, 3 and outs after the halftime when we need to get the defense off the field. We cannot stay on the field for a drive, Preston. That's killing us.
That's where coaching comes into play.
And
that's where he has not done well, and that includes being the play caller. I'm still scratching my head a lot on some of the plays that he calls, especially when they get into the red zone area. Okay, we know everything starts at the top, right? So let's talk a little bit, if we could, here about potential head coaches, okay? I'm going to throw up a list of, I'm not sure where I found it, but of potential head coaches that are in the league today. And I think there's one in there that's on the collegiate ranks. Yes, Lincoln Riley. And I'm going to point out and suggest to everyone, and I want you to comment on it, a couple of guys that are on the the collegiate level that I think might be those guys or one of those guys that can come in and fill those areas that I'd like to see a head coach have, especially from an offensive standpoint. I don't know many of these guys here on this list other than Vance Joseph, who was a coach, head coach at one point in time with the Broncos, I believe. The others, other than Lincoln Riley, who is at USC, who was at Oklahoma for a while, I don't know any of these guys. Do you know any of them? Anything about them?
I know of them. I heard their names. I know that they were going there. But there's definitely, with Lincoln Riley, I mean, I'm a USC Trojan fan. I don't see that happening. Not even, we're kind of struggling a little bit at USC ourselves at the moment. But I think, Deion Sanders, somebody from the collegiate level, or besides Lincoln Riley, somebody like Deion, Bill Belichick. There's some names I have. Mike Vrabel, Ben Johnson, Brian Flores, Aaron Glenn. So there are some people out there, and Preston, we've done the offensive side of the ball. We've got McCarthy. We had Jason Garrett. I'm kind of wanting to lean to get a defensive-minded coach in here, somebody that's going to stop the run, put that, somebody like Bill Belichick. I mean, is it possible? Do I want somebody like that? Right now, Preston, our team is going in such a way, I really don't even know which direction to really go, but Deion Sanders is somebody that really sticks out to me. Even though he said that he's not wanting to come, like you say, Monday always talks about Monday. But Preston, we need somebody like that in our locker room. Somebody that's a legend like that. That when he walks in the door, he's able to take on that drama of being a Dallas Cowboy head coach. If anybody can do it, Coach Prime can. But if he walks in there and he tells these young men how to do it, nobody played better football cornerback than Deion Sanders. That is a legend. I think him coming in, I think the passion he brings, I think it could be very good if that's a route we go. I do have my eyes on Deion a little, Preston.
Well, okay, we haven't talked about Deion. He wasn't on that list there. He was not on my list of guys on the collegiate level. But we know he's been talked about on a yearly basis as possibly becoming a head coach with the Dallas Cowboys, and especially if his son gets drafted by the Cowboys as the number one draft choice for the Cowboys. Maybe people are thinking that's what the Cowboys are doing right now, losing games so they can be in a position to draft Deion's son.
Well, we'd have to go a long ways. Shador Sanders.
Shador, I'm sorry.
To get him, we would have to be 1 to 3, maybe 3 if he even makes it past that. Where we're at right now, I mean, a lot of us thinking 8, 7. We're not going to get there unless we give up capital to get Shador. And here you already have Dak Prescott at $60 million a year for the next 3 years.
They're not going to. They're not going, in my opinion. Okay, Deion or not, they are not going to go out and get a quarterback. Not after they're paying Dak Prescott $241 million.
Correct.
I mean, why would you do that? If it's all about money, why would you have signed Dak and then go out and draft this kid? I think they're going to be going defensive, and that's so far out there. I don't even know why I said that just now.
Well, we need a culture change, Preston. And I don't mean culture from owner. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is somewhere along the way, our Dallas Cowboys, Preston, became not a physical football team. And we're definitely not finesse. We're not good enough to be finesse when it comes to our the way we're playing football. But we cannot, for some reason.
You said it again. We've been preaching this all year long. It's about culture and character. And listen, when you've got your lead guy on defense, and I'm talking about Micah Parsons, I'm not afraid to say it, number 11. Yes, he's been hurt. And Micah Parsons is a talent.
Yes, he is.
On the field. But what you have to watch out for, Micah, and all fans of Micah, is away from the field, because everybody's watching you. Everybody's listening to you. And when you go about dividing your teammates amongst family or other fans,
I remember that.
I'm here to tell you, you got a problem. You got a problem. Person. And the culture that you created somehow finds its way into that locker room.
Yes.
And now those are the kinds of elements, and the Cowboys have several of those going on. Not necessarily a Micah Parsons type, and what he does off the field with podcasts and all these other things that he says on social media, there are some other things going on that surrounds the concept of culture within the Cowboys, okay?
Right.
And
yes, sir.
You're right. That's exactly what they need. Someone or somebody's or a concept that comes in here and changes the culture to the point to where, and it may be physicality. It may be that.
Yes, please. Please.
Yes,
Preston, were you ever on a team like this that struggled? What do you remember about being on a team like this, if you've ever been on one like this?
Well, when I first went to Pittsburgh, back in, 1970, this was a team and organization that had not won anything for 50 years plus. Pittsburgh Steelers, go back and look at it. You do it yourself.
So true.
The history of the Pittsburgh Steelers going way back prior to the 1970s was Zippo, not very good. They had a guy who went up there, Chuck Noll, who was my position coach when I was drafted by the Baltimore Colts as a defensive back. He was brought on as the coach of the Steelers at that time. He went out and drafted some guys, Joe Green, Terry Bradshaw, Mel Blount, L.C. Greenwood, Jack Ham, Jack Lambert. What's the little receiver from USC? Lynn Swann.
Yes.
All those guys were brought into the non-culture of the Pittsburgh Steelers, but of the culture that Chuck Noll developed.
There it is there. That makes
Physical,
sense, Preston. Yes.
Talented, and pay attention to me and the way we do things around here. And the Cowboys right now don't have any idea of what their culture is. Who are we? What are
That's
we?
a good point. Preston,
What
I
do we
like
stand
that's true.
for?
Right. It's true.
Well, okay. Let's move on to our next topic. Okay, we talked about injuries a little bit.
Yes.
And the injury situation for the Cowboys started, I think, in preseason when Sam Williams, young, upcoming stud defensive lineman, got hurt and was out for the year. Sam was a good player coming on.
I had him predicted to be one of our better players this year.
Yeah.
I really did. I thought Sam Williams was going to take that step because, man, he was fast around the edge. And you know what, Preston? He's physical. That's what we need. He is physical.
He had that demeanor that you need to have.
Yes.
Nasty,
Yes.
mean.
Right.
Take no
Yes, sir.
stuff from anybody.
Right.
The kind of attitude and culture that you need to have on a professional football team. Yes, you can be very nice and calm and be yourself when you're away from the field.
Right.
But when you put the helmet on, you put the star on, now you have to become a guy, a man of culture.
Yes.
And has Mike McCarthy developed that culture? Has Jerry Jones assisted him in developing that culture? I don't think so. Not today, anyway. Maybe Jerry did when he was the man over Jimmy Johnson. But he got rid of Jimmy.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Which, I mean, that was so terrible for us fans and everybody. Just that I remember losing Jimmy like that, and just like Emmett talked about, and everybody, us fans, we were devastated, Preston.
Yeah.
I mean, because we watched our team go from we didn't see a Super Bowl from your time in '77. Then he comes 92, 93. We were back-to-back champions, and we have to say goodbye. It's like saying goodbye to a woman you love, It's like, what? We're leaving it? What? You're leaving it? I mean, what the heck, But it was a sad moment for us fans. And then, but luckily, Barry Switzer came in, and he really kept the weight straight.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
No other coach could have did that, I didn't think, like Barry Switzer did, Preston.
Yeah. Oh, and we have to give Jerry some credit there because he played under Barry Switzer, along with Jimmy Johnson being right there in the same room.
Yeah, that was crazy to find out that they were coached by him in that national championship in '60.
How about that?
I didn't know that till I researched it. That was really impressive. The downline of all of them together.
Okay, we were talking about some of the injuries, and certainly before he came back, which was, I believe Micah came back in the Eagles game. Micah is...
And he played well that game.
Yes, he played well, especially coming off into that game off of the injury. But he was injured, and he was out for how many games? 4?
Yeah, 4, maybe more than that, Preston. Maybe a little more, right? Maybe 5 or something. But you're in that ballpark, yes.
Four or 5 games for Micah. And then you had the other defensive end who has been phenomenal for the Cowboys. And I'm talking about DeMarcus Lawrence.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Preston. Yes, D-Law. Yes, we sure did miss D-Law.
Has been an excellent player for the Cowboys for the last 8 or 9 years. I'm not sure how many.
Especially stopping the run, Preston, and keeping that outside containment, which nobody is keeping outside containment right now. At this moment, quarterbacks are breaking free. If once we're coming in, our outside our ends are crashing too much and giving that outside run for quarterbacks. It's a little too easy.
And he doesn't get a lot of credit for being able to do that, but he's been excellent for the Cowboys. We talked a little bit about another critical player who was super last year. He wore the number 26, Deron Bland. He's been out. We're still not sure if he's going to be coming back for the Commanders game, but he's been out with a foot injury.
Yes.
And again, I'll say this. If he's been out this long and if he can't play this weekend, that would be 11 games.
Wow.
Go ahead and put him on injury reserve and allow him to get himself back together totally. I know the financial ends of it. You pay a guy. You don't want him to have to sit out.
Right.
But where are you going to go? If the sky has fallen.
Right.
My opinion, don't bring him back. Allow him to get himself totally back together again. And that goes for all of the guys that are on IR.
And let our young people see what we got with our young people, Preston. These are such an ownership that likes to see where we are with our rookies and our draft choices. Let's get him some experience. Wanye Thomas. I mean, I hate to say this, Malik Hooker and Damian Wilson in the back there, they have been taking, and it's not just him. Overshawn has been amazing too. But a lot of times when we have a sack on the quarterback, we just don't break down. It seems like we overrun and over pursue. A lot of times we can get to that quarterback, but we just aren't doing the, breakdown like our coaches always taught us. Break down and make that tackle. We seem to be running through, and that's Hooker does that. Damian Wilson, they take angles to tackles and they overrun them, and the pass coverage really isn't there. So maybe let Wanye Thomas or Israel Muakamu give number 24. Give some of these other younger guys a chance, and let's see what we have with them.
Well, hopefully everybody will be able to recover and upgrade the team, whether they are getting into the playoffs or not. I'm looking for, now anyway, those guys who can take pride in being a professional, can take pride in wearing that star and represent at the utmost level, the highest level. Okay. One other person that I wanted to mention in this was Brandon Cooks, the wide receiver. He, in my opinion, is missed.
Yes, he is.
If nothing more than being a threat deep.
Correct.
Because right now, I would bet you, partner, that most of our fans, including me at times, could not name the other wide receivers on our team.
Yes.
Okay, you got Brandon Cooks, CD. You have our tight end in Ferguson.
Turpin's there.
You got Turpin. I'm going to put him in the special teams area, but he is a wide receiver.
Yep.
Okay, who are the other guys?
Well, we got Ryan Flournoy, who we got in that 6th round, or was it 6th or 7th round of It was the 6th round last year. He's showing, he has some good hands. Has a little bit of Des Bryant quality to him, but we haven't really got to see him yet. Really showcase. We got Jalen Brooks that we got number 83, I believe, too. That
Yes.
Dak liked him, and he was really good in training camps. I mean, he really was a stud in training camp.
But they
Jalen
both
Tolbert,
of them have kind of basically disappeared. Flournoy has done a little bit lately.
Right.
But you don't hear their names on any kind of consistent basis in any games that I've seen. And I'm not being critical.
No, you're right, Preston.
Coming down on these guys for any stupid reason. But it's just a fact.
Yes, we have nobody to spread the field. And Brandon Cooks spread the field for us. He was a deep threat potential. That's what we had, and that's what we needed from him. Right now, you can just double CD, and nobody's really a threat to go up the seam. And that was kind of where Jake Ferguson, and it seemed like all of his routes are like 3-yard outs, or we're not taking the ball downfield with some of these guys. And, Preston, but yes, you're right. Brandon Cooks is missed because he was the one that kind of just was that threat.
They went
out. Yes, sir.
They went out and signed. Who is it? The Jonathan Wingo.
Mingo. Yes. Jonathan Mingo.
When
Yes,
I say
we
Wingo,
did. Yes.
Jonathan Mingo, who supposedly has some speed. He's been around for a little bit, and
Good size,
he
too.
did play
Good size.
last week.
Yeah,
did
he
a
did.
fairly decent job, but he's new.
Yeah.
And so what they're trying to do is find some assistance in the wide receiver area.
Right.
If you think back
Yes.
on the last ball game, CeeDee Lamb was running all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, if he wasn't in motion, he was running deep routes or sideline routes. And I can tell you right now, he was beat. He was tired.
Yes.
Every once in a while, they'd even put him in the backfield and let him carry the ball. You can't kill a guy like that. You got to get other people involved and into the game. And that's one of the reasons why I believe they brought in Jonathan Mingo. Hopefully, he will be able to help out a little bit.
And Preston, he was wide open on that 4th down play when they took the 64-yard field goal off the boards and we moved it down the field. And he was wide open there, and Cooper Rush overthrew him, but there was going to be a penalty anyways. But he was open for a throw. A good quarterback right there gets him the ball, and we score that touchdown right there. But then again, though, a penalty would have negated it anyways.
Okay, a couple of other guys that have been hurt that may have returned. Jordan Lewis is still out. Is he expected to come back?
That person I'm going to have to check because I did not see where he was going to be coming back, but I didn't check to see who was at practice yesterday, and I apologize for that.
No
but
problem.
Yes,
Deuce
Jordan
Vaughn came back last week.
Yes, he did.
He's the little guy from Michigan whose dad is on the coaching staff.
He's from, I think he's from Texas, or not TCU. Wasn't he TCU? I think
No, he's Michigan.
Oh, not. I don't think. Wait, doggone it. I think he is. Oh, wait, no, he's from Kansas State, Preston. I think he's from Kansas State.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
I'll acquiesce to that, but
yeah,
I'll still say he played at Michigan.
Okay. We'll look that up together. You're my friend. I like to do these things with my
we'll
friend.
look that up. Okay.
Sure we will.
A couple
Yes,
other
sir.
guys that I believe is Marshawn Nealon.
Yes.
And he's been out for a little bit. He
started off great for us. Yes.
He really did. Looking
He's
forward
wearing that
to
94. If you're wearing that 94, Preston, like when you put that 88 on and
That's
things,
right.
there's some expectation to that. And Preston, when he first started this season, I thought he was stopping the run. He was putting pressure on. We really missed this rookie. I will tell you that because he was showing us some really good signs.
He's
Really
got very
good
good size.
Yes.
That injury that he got, that was he was in the open air, wasn't he? When he sustained that injury. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but I believe he's scheduled to come back for this upcoming game. Okay.
He is? Well, that I didn't know. I'm excited about that, Preston.
Yeah, I think he's scheduled to come back. Now,
Fantastic.
Overshawn, you talked about him earlier.
Yes.
Here's a kid that, to me, is the next Micah Parsons.
Oh, he's a stud.
He's a stud, got very good size, a rookie who's going to get better. He just needs to slow down.
Yes, that's
his
great, Preston. You
heartbeat,
nailed it. Yes.
And recognize that these are pros out here.
Right. And Preston, that game against the Eagles, he had the blitz on him. He had him dead to right.
Sights.
Oh, he had him right there. If he just breaks down and hits him. But he got out, and then that was when they threw the touchdown to their tight end, and Damian Wilson just played atrocious. I hate to say that. I'm not trying to bash him. But just the awful coverage this year. Our safeties coverage this year has been very bad. But right there, Overshawn was fast. It was a great blitz called by Mike Zimmer. But you overran the tackle, and you just can't do that at this level, Preston.
He just didn't break down like you're supposed to, as you were saying. And he thought he was going to make one of those college, type tackles around the legs. And here you got a pro, an experienced quarterback who knows how to run. He's not just going to let you bring him down that way. Anyway, a learning session
he was great.
for him.
He is great. Yes,
he's going to be a very good linebacker if he maintains his health, and he's already had some problems, but he fought through them, and he came back just like Zach Martin did. Okay, John Stevens, who's a tight end, he's also been hurt. He's going to be out for a little bit longer, I believe. The best thing about the Cowboys, in my opinion, was the kickers. And as soon as I thought that last week, Brandon Aubrey misses a 41-yard field goal. So, out of all the kicks that we needed, he misses it. Okay,
I think
we needed
Preston, I think he's missed only 2 or 3 kicks, and they're always for like 38 yards. If you want to be honest, he kicks better deeper than he does on the inside there. So his misses come from close. That 64-yarder he kicked, Preston, I saw the highlight again of it. That was good from 75, maybe. I'm not even joking you. I expect
him to be able to hit a 75-yard field goal. Hopefully, if we won't need it. But I believe he can hit a 75-yard field goal.
His leg is unbelievable, Preston.
Kicker. And, of course, when you talk about the special teams and kicking, you have to talk about Brian Anger, who is the kicker, the regular kicker. And then
that's a key word, kicker, Preston, and maybe not quarterback. Okay, for the last in 3 weeks we've tried 2 passes.
Not
from
a
Brian
good quarterback, huh?
No, Preston. Even on that fourth down when they called, it was like 4th and 12. Ronye Thomas ran about an 8-yard route and he threw it up like it was a Hail Mary, and we were 5 yards short.
It wasn't going to work anyway. The defensive back was right there.
He nailed him. And Vince Lombardi, I could have heard him saying, "What the heck's going on out there?" With that voice that he does. And especially Tom Landry would have. Who knows what Coach Landry would have did under these situations?
Coach Landry would have sent Mike out there. Mike Ditka. Out there.
But we had Danny White. We're talking Danny White, a phenomenal stud, legendary, iconic quarterback. Well, Brian Anger isn't that. And so hopefully we can stop trying to do that. It made no sense. We were only down 7-0. It was like 12 yards, and we were like 4th and 12. Preston, they ran an 8-yard post, and he got smashed 5 yards away. I mean, the ball wasn't even close to the. I don't even. I'm trying to still understand what was going on right there.
You have to talk to John Fossil about that one. That's the special teams coach.
They said that they called it on the field. It was an audible that if they got a certain look, that the players were allowed to call that.
Well, they got the wrong look. I'm just saying they did, Preston. That was, let our kicker kick. How about that? Make kickers great again. And to round out the kicking unit, we have to mention the long snapper, and most people don't even know who that is, and that would be Trent Sieg, S-I-E-G.
LP Loudershire was there for so many years.
Yes.
And he was so phenomenal. But I don't see anything wrong with Sieg, the way he's snapping the ball. Everything looks like it's coming right there. He looks like he's doing
a great
job.
job. He's doing a great job. Yeah.
Yes,
Cowboys
sir.
has been fortunate to have some guys who can do it well, consistently, and have been around for a long time. See, I'm not sure exactly how many years he's been with the Cowboys, but it's been a number of years, and he's done a great job when it comes to that. Okay. Has the sky fallen? We asked that question earlier.
Oh, and that looks like the stadium piece right there, Preston. That is crazy that you found something that actually looked like the stadium AT&T building. That's just great, Preston.
I had fun trying to find that thing.
I bet.
And it came back to my mind when I was thinking about the piece that fell from the ceiling, and went back to my youth. And I remember we used to say that a lot. The sky's falling down. Cover up. It was all about an acorn or something like that, wasn't it?
It's exactly what it was.
Little.
But our season has a little more than an acorn hanging over us,
That's right.
Unfortunately.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yes.
This is not funny.
No,
it's not comical. But I wanted to lighten things up a little bit.
Yes.
And then ask you and our audience, has the sky fallen? Are the Cowboys now going to start looking at the draft? Have they given up? And a telltale sign here might be this, Nathan. If the Cowboys start inserting guys who are backups or starting guys that they have question marks about, if they do that in this game coming up, there's no doubt in my mind they are looking at the draft and where they might be, because they've given up. And listen, if I ever run into a team from the Dallas Cowboys that starts giving up, I'm going to give up on them. It's going to be over for me. I'm a fan.
Yes, sir.
I'm a fan of the Cowboys. I try to be honest about it and give an honest opinion about where they are and what they're doing and all of that. But if they give up, I don't care where you are in the stands. If you give up, I give up on you. That's my promise.
It's hard to argue that, Preston. That's hard to argue that. And you don't have to worry if our offensive line doesn't get better. I mean, I don't know if there's anybody we can beat the rest of the season. I mean, that Giant game, But Marcus, Terrence Steele on that right tackle, I'm not trying to bash anybody, but he is struggling so mightily
what's
on that
going
right
on?
tackle. I don't know whether it was his knee injury from a couple of years ago. I mean, now maybe – this is something to think about, because everybody talks about his run ability to run block. Maybe when Zach Martin retires, if we move him over just right to maybe right guard, let him use his ability to do run, because he is not fast enough to go with those faster defensive edges, the TJ Watts and all those. Hunter, they're going right past him, and that's not even on the left side with our rookie. So we are really. Yeah, we are struggling, Preston, when it matters the most in the trenches.
Well, let's look at it. Who do we have on the starting offensive line for the Cowboys right now? We got Tyler Guyton, and he might be hurt, may not play. So backing him up is Asim Richards.
Yeah, Austin Richards, yes.
Tyler Smith, who he might be the best offensive lineman we got, right?
You're right, and I was scared to death when he went out hurt. Yes, true.
He's hurt.
I was scared.
Then you got a rookie, Cooper Beebe, who might turn out to be a pretty good center, but right now,
yes, exactly. That's a great way. I'm not even going to add to it. The way you said it, that said it all.
And then you got Zach Martin.
Struggling. Sad to see that, Preston. He's so good over the years.
He's struggling because I think of it as a lot of it is being because he's been nicked up in some critical places to play that position. But who do you have to back him up? Brock Hoffman, who's a backup center.
Yeah.
Are you going to move Tyler over there and let Asim play at the left tackle position?
Right. Maybe TJ Bass, probably.
And
Probably,
then if Terrence Steele struggles, what do you do then?
That's what I'm saying, Preston. With this draft coming up, let's say we do get, really high draft choice. Where do we start? Do we go back to the line? Because Preston, we couldn't run the football at all, and we can't protect the quarterback. I don't care if we had Emmitt Smith back there and Troy Aikman with this offensive line right now, they would get crushed. They are not playing well, and it starts in those trenches.
All right. Let's see here. Do we have time for our? Well, we don't, or do we?
Let's do it fast, Preston. You want me to just do it real fast?
Okay. Yeah, let's do it real quick.
Sure.
Do it real quick. Go to our Ask a Pro segment here, and let's see. I'll let you go ahead.
You got
from
it.
Zach Nix.
You got it. And thank you for writing in, Zach. We appreciate you so much, and we thank all the listeners. And on this segment of Ask a Pro, this is for Preston. Did Preston provide knowledge about the Steelers in Super Bowls 10 that helped the game be so competitive? And that's from Zach Nix from Gilroy, California.
Hey, Zach, thank you for the question.
Thank you, Zach.
And I'm trying to think through that. Super Bowl 10, did I provide? Well, let me put it this way. Most of the time when you get traded from one place to the other, a lot of people think that you go right to the head coaches and share, or they ask you questions about what they do for this or what they do for that. You know what?
Right.
All that's going to do is confuse the coaches, and it makes it too complex to put together a real game plan. And you know what? The team that player, me in this case, came from, that team knows I'm there. So they may change or may set you up for something like that, I might go to them. But to answer your question point blank, no. I didn't volunteer anything. The coaches didn't ask for anything. And in at least 98% of the time, that's not the way it happens. Coaches don't go to players and ask for things like that. Did you, Nathan, did you have any situation like that in your athletic career when you, went from one team or the other, or heard about some guy sharing something about the team he came from or went to? Never happened to me.
No, not really, because not for me either. You know what I mean? It seems like when we get a new coach or something like that, or we're coaching from other teams, we just kind of went in there and earned it ourselves. You know what I mean? No excuses. Just go and do our job, and something good will happen.
That's the best way to go about it. Put together your own game plan based upon what you see as coaches.
Absolutely.
And believe me, the coaches have enough to handle during the week just preparing a game plan, both offensively and defensively. And like I said earlier, all that does, any information that you provide, it just makes it more complex and more difficult to put together a game plan.
Yeah.
So,
Preston, that's a good answer. I mean, seriously, thank you for sharing with us fans that. Absolutely.
I wish we had, if I had known anything in Super Bowl 10, believe me, I would have added it so we could have beaten the Steelers back then.
Man, we were close, Preston. A couple bad calls here and there. There were some things.
That was the Dirty Dozen year, right?
Yes, it was.
So
yes, it was.
Young team, up and coming. We kind of learned our lessons and did some really good things after that year. Got back into the Super Bowl a couple of years later.
Yes, you did.
The Steelers beat us again, but we did beat the Broncos. We had a really, really, really good team. I'd stack up that team against any team.
Absolutely.
Other than maybe the 92-93 Dallas Cowboy team.
No, that's true. Those guys were just stacked defense, offensive. Ken Norton as the middle linebacker. They were awesome. Darren Woodson, real fast, Darren Woodson did make the semifinalists. So let's hope
That's right.
Darren Woodson gets in, Preston. He was on our show. We love Darren Woodson. We love all the people who came on. But, Darren, we're rooting for you, Darren. If you hear this, we hope you get in.
Okay, real quick. You think the Cowboys can get into the playoffs this year?
No, Preston. I think it's no. We don't have the trenches to do
Not
it, but I'm
enough there.
sorry to say that. There's
Yeah.
not enough there, Preston.
You're just telling it like it is, my friend. Your thoughts,
sir.
your feelings, your opinion. All right.
love my
Well, I thank
Cowboys, though.
everybody for being here for us in production of The Champions.
Yes.
Well, I won't get into all of that. Thanks to the production studio, RNPR right here. Thanks to our producer, Trey Giles.
Thank you, Trey.
You can catch us on social media, all of the platforms out there: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, X. Also, audio-wise, TikTok, Amazon, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. For my co-hosts, together we say to you guys, once again, thank you so much for being here. And
Yes.
here we
Here
go.
we go. Yeah. Here we go.